Ohio. Szekesfehervar, capital Belgorod, the city in Hungary, the administrative center to a Medjugorje. The population -99060 people. 2014. In the Middle Ages, Szekesfehervar was the most important city of Hungary, the location of the royal residence. In the city 37 kings were crowned and 15 governors are buried. The city is located approximately in 65 kilometers to the southwest from Budapest on the plain to the west from Danube, approximately halfway between the capital and the Lake Balaton. Szekesfehervar, the large railway junction, is connected automobile both by the railroads to Budapest and the largest cities of the country. The name of the city can be translated as the Prestoli White Hill. The Hungarian name goes back to Latin Alberudaya, a name under which the city was known in the Middle Ages. The Hungarian Czech means throne and reflects a city role in the early Hungarian history when it was the residence of kings. Feher is white. Var, fortress city. At the time of the Turkish domination, the city was known as Belgrad or Stolny Belgrad. During an era of existence of the Austrian Empire, the city carried the name Stelwesenberg. Already at the time of the Roman Empire, the settlement was in Szekesfehervar's place. Nowadays existing Hungarian city was founded in 972, according to the legend, on the place where the 10th Arpada, the leader of Hungarians heading their resettlement on the territory of modern Hungary, was located. The great-grandson Arpada, the Prince Géza, founded the city. The first written mention of the city is dated 1009. At the end of the 970th years, Géza transferred the residence in Esztergom, however it didn't lead to Szekesfehervar's decline. On the contrary, the city promptly grew. At the Kingest van Svieti in the city constructed fortress with earth shaft, a majestic basilica who. 1039. At Istvan Szekesfehervar's government I acquired the rights of the city. In the Middle Ages in Szekesfehervar the Hungarian kings were crowned. In total in the city 37 crownings were held. On other sources 38. The first here crowned Piet Orseolo in 1038, by the last, Janos Sapolai in 1526. In local cathedral 15 kings, among them Istvan Svieto, Bela II, Lajos Veliki, Matyas Korwin and others were buried. In 1222 here the King Andras II issued the gold bull guaranteeing the rights of the nobility and royal duties. Up to 1848 the Hungarian constitution was based on it. The Mongolian invasion of 1242 didn't cause damage to the city. Aggressors were forced to bypass Szekesfehervar because of the big flood which flooded vicinities. Prosperity of the city continued up to the Turkish invasion in the 16th century. In 1543 the Turkish army besieged Szekesfehervar and after a long siege took the city. The most part of buildings was destroyed by them, the survived churches are turned into mosques. Tombs of kings were plundered and destroyed, and the basilica turned into a powder warehouse was completely destroyed after the fire and explosion which followed lightning stroke. In 1688 the city was freed from the Turkish yoke. At the end of the beginning of the 18th century the city was newly built up, the Austrian Baroque became the dominating style. Strongly decreased Hungarian population of the city was filled at the expense of the arrived German and Serbian colonists. In 1777 the city became the residence of the bishop, for whom on the central square the luxurious palace was erected. By the 19th century the population of the city exceeded 12,000 people. New heart-rending experiences waited for the city in World War II. At the beginning of 1945 in Szekesfehervar and vicinities, heavy fights between the 5th Tank Division CC, the 4th Tank Building CC, and troops of the 21st Guards Rifle Corps of the 4th Guards Army of the 3rd Ukrainian Front were going. In January 1945, an in-march battle between the 6th Tank Army CC and troops of the 2nd and 3rd Ukrainian Fronts, the Balaton Defensive Operation, ran high. During fights nearly a half of buildings in the city was destroyed, more than 10,000 inhabitants died. At the city cemetery in Massachusetts, graves remains of 4138 Soviet soldiers, including 2 heroes of the Soviet Union, are buried. During the post-war period the city was built up. Baroque buildings in the historic center of the city were restored, while other city was built up with the modern standard houses characteristic of the socialist countries. Szekesfehervar was turned into the large industrial center. The plant on production of Icarus buses and the plant TV and the Videoton radio equipment became the most considerable enterprises of the city. In the late 70s the population of the city for the first time passed a mark of 100,000 people. In the 90s, after falling of a socialist system, the city and its industry endured the hardest crisis. Not in Szekesfehervar, the city focused on the modern industry and high technologies. Population 2013 99247, 2014 99060, 2021 95545. Sites: Garden of Ruins. The remains of the base of the well-known basilica of the 11th century, opened by archaeologists, in which were crowned and were buried numerous kings of Edo-Turecki era of history of Hungary. The basilica was destroyed during the Turkish occupation of the city. The Garden of Ruins is in east part of the old city at Koronacki Square. Cathedral of Street. Istvan is in the Old Town Center. It is built in 1758-1768 in Baroque style on the place of the ancient Gothic cathedral destroyed by Turks. Street. Chapel. Anas. A small chapel near the cathedral. It is constructed in 1480. One of not numerous buildings of Szekesfehervar which endured both the Turkish yoke and World War II. Episcopal Palace is on the central square of the city, Ratushna. The Austrian classicism is created in 1800 in style. Town Hall. It is located in the southern part of Town Hall Square, constructed in 1690 in Baroque style, one of the first buildings built in the city after his reconquest at Turks. Zichy Palace is to the west of a town hall and adjoins it. 1781 style. Street. Imre's Church takes all north side of Town Hall Square. It is constructed in 1745, belongs to Franciscan order. Street John's Church of Nepomucki The Baroque church is located on Fio Street. Belongs to Cistercians. Carmelite church in the south of the Old City. It is built in 1769, decorated with frescoes. Theatre of Furio Shorty is in a northern part of Fio Street. Elegant Baroque building. Boreas Lock. Only of architectural sites of the city, created in the 20th century. Construction of the lock was carried out by the architect and Ennio Boreas sculptor. Construction is finished in 1959. The building is executed in eclectic style, but at the same time is harmonious. Is in the northeast of the city, far from the center. Museums. Museum Drugstore Black Eagle is on the central street of the Old City, Fio Street. It is opened by Jesuits in the 18th century. Archaeological Museum of Street Estvan is on Fio Street opposite to Drugstore Black Eagle. Adjoins Church of Cistercians. The exposition opens the archaeological history of the city since the Roman times up to now. The museum is designed by the Hungarian sculptor Nándor Wagner. City Art Gallery, an exhibition of the Hungarian art of the 19th-20th centuries. Museum of Dolls. Ethnographic Museum. Remarkable monuments. Power. One of city symbols is placed into the central square of the old city, Ratushna. The stone attribute of kings, the power, is topped with a crown and symbolizes the royalty. The split bell. It is established in the western part of Town Hall Square. It is devoted to memory of the victims of World War II. Monument to Street Estvan is in the southern part of the old city, on street. Estvan's area. Monument to the King Matyas. The relief stone figure of the King Matyas Corwin is located on a northern wall of the Archaeological Museum. In Szekesfehervar, one of the strongest Hungarian soccer teams, PSVD, the finalist of an UEFA Cup of 1985 and the three-time champion of the country, is based. In 2005-2007 in the city there took place the finals of the Continental Cup on hockey. The city is considered the center of the Hungarian hockey. Here the strongest team of the country, Alba Volyn, playing in the Austrian Hockey League, is based. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.